to, you know, it's a sick thing to do.
Right.
I'm really honest, to fake a cancer lines, storyline. Um,
And welcome to those who's joining us on YouTube. And this is sponsored by
Please.
Lay's. Go get you some.
There you go. So basically, I have to pop in. That's for YouTube. So basically, it's kind of sad because, we saw our son's best friend fight cancer. He fought leukemia, and it's a horrible, horrible disease that attacks mercilessly. Oh my gosh, my words are really messed up. And the problem is that, we know from when Jordan had cancer that he couldn't do any sports, he couldn't do any physical contact, the treatments, because injuries are very, very hard to heal when you are fighting cancer. And because you have certain ports in, Jordan had a port put in his chest that was right above his heart into one of his main arteries, where the chemotherapy and other medications were put in directly, and it's a needle that goes into your vein. So it's a bit like an IV that you have, but it's fitted into your chest. So, if Roman Reigns is going to have anything like that, damn well that there's no way he can be involved in any kind of contact sports or anything.
Exactly.
And when you have chemotherapy as well, it kills not just the cancer cells, but it kills all of the good parts that are in your blood and your body to help you fight illness. So him being able to travel from place to place to place would be extremely dangerous for his health, in the sense that he would be able to pick up and contract 1,000,001 different things that are out there. Not just like a common cold could kill him. The flu could kill him. And, you can't take that chance. You really can't. I really hope that he has a speedy recovery, because, he's in apart from this, he's obviously in pretty decent health. He's, doing everything that he can. And it does actually, I mentioned this to AJ, that it does make me wonder if, when he was suspended for drug use, if part of that was he was using it as a pain relief. Because I remember speaking with Jordan, and he said there were some times when the pain's just overwhelming and you'll just take anything you can to, pain. And it makes me now wonder if that was just the prelude to all of this, to, finding out what was going on.
Right.
And especially when he got injured, and injuries are very hard to heal when you are sick. So there's so many things that could, be taken in. I'm just going to move over because we have another host about to join in it. So let me, here, you get the middle chair. Okay. So,
hi, people.
Mike, the world, Mike. So basically, that's what my views on, partly to do with his suspension as well, was perhaps that was the prelude to all of this and being re-diagnosed with leukemia again.
Are we talking about the whole Roman Reigns situation?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are thinking that it's a WWE storyline, and I know that WWE have done a lot of shitty things.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would go that far, though.
Yeah, and that's what WWE came out and actually had to say in a press release, that this isn't us.
Roman Reigns in the hospital. I don't think he would surrender the title and actually have hospital if it was a stunt.
Especially as the title meant so much to him. He would rather lose it fair and square than,
That'd be too risky of a gamble. Like, okay, I'm going to fake leukemia,
put
up fake hospital photos, and come out on television to surrender a title that I fought for, just so the storyline could continue. Like,
and the fact of it is that every news agency, oh my God, you're being stubborn. Every news agency, oops, sorry, boo-boo, I just ripped the table apart. Every news agency has literally picked up the story. And can you imagine what a shit fest would rain down on WWE if it was fake?
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, I feel bad for him. I really wish he has a speedy recovery, but with the money that he has, and WWE have already said, well, Stephanie McMahon has already said that they won't turn their backs on him. He's got all the help that they can possibly give. And with Connor's Cure, which is for childhood cancer, their breast cancer campaign, cancer is such a big part of their fundraising efforts. One, they would lose that support from Susan G. Komen and other places if it was a fake thing.
Right.
And two, I think it's too important of a illness for them. I would just like to point out that I did message WWE and point out that it's not just Cancer Awareness Month, that it is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and that we will be at the show when they're in town, and I will be rocking my pink and blue Maddie's Memory shirt. They didn't respond to me.
They never do.
No, they don't.
Okay, so until now, a little lightheartedness after we done got all the disease and whatnot out the way. What's up next?
Well, I was going to talk a little bit more about that because if there was a stunt, they'll lose fans like myself that got an aunt that battled through cancer and won.
They'd lose me because of
We'll just keep talking about
Robert.
This, okay?
Yeah, because of Robert and Jordan. I mean, the amount of times I went up to the Children's Hospital with Robert in the middle of winter to see Jordan, and how upset me and Robert were when we came back after seeing him.
Right.
Because we thought we were going to lose him at one point. But, they will lose a fan base. They will lose probably a lot of their sponsors that they have of their own.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's a stunt. So I think we should move on to something more lighthearted because this could get very sad very quick.
If that's the subject that you guys want to speak on, go on ahead.
No, there's other things we could talk about. We just wanted to bring it up and mention it because it is one of the main stories that is going around wrestling right now. So,
right, man, we just get that out the way.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Giannis. Don't point at me. It was the dog.
Why would you the dog if he was the one that did it?
See, it was Giannis. It wasn't me. Okay, so moving on.
All right. Okay, what's that mean for Crown Jewel next Friday is they decided they're going to do a one-on-one match with Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. So,
how do you think fans would react to Hogan making his triumphant return?
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he is going to return at Crown Jewel next Friday as well. So
don't know if he's competing, but they did make an announcement that Hogan is returning back to the WWE.
Okay, just a quick question: where is Crown Jewel being held now?
It's still going to be at Saudi Arabia.
Really?
Oh yeah, I heard.
Yeah, they made their decision.
Wow.
I heard a lot of controversy about that.
Yeah, they made their decision Thursday just to keep
it where it was at.
Yeah, because of contract negotiations and the money
Wow.
that they throw at them and stuff.
Wow.
After what happened last time.
Well, and it's not only that. There was a reporter who was recently killed in Saudi Arabia. And there was a lot of things saying that the Saudi government was behind the murder and sanctioned it because of what this particular reporter was saying and everything. So there was a lot of things as to whether or not they would be able to hold their show in there because the tensions between US and Saudi Arabia were pretty high. But I'm hoping that it's one of those things where WWE comes back in and I don't want to say acts as peacemaker, but shows that, you can't put one little incident, and I'm not saying the death of somebody is a little incident, but, in the whole scheme of other atrocities that go on around the world at the hands of governments and everything, we don't know the whole story. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, and plus with all the money they were throwing there and some of the people that's getting paid millions, especially Shawn Michaels to unretired to.
That's going to be a weird one because as fans have known since if they watched the last pay-per-view, the one that was held in Australia, and then the Monday Night Raw after that one, It's gonna be weird seeing Shawn Michaels in his old wrestling gear with no hair whatsoever. That's gonna look weird as all outdoors.
I'm wondering if they're going to give him like a tub of oil to make the head shine.
Who knows?
That's gonna be weird.
But they paying him, from what I heard, is like $2 million just for that.
Hell, I'd
One-time
come out of
deal.
retirement for $2 million.
Trying to
Oh
think,
my
somebody
God.
else was getting paid $2 million too. Then Brock Lesnar is getting paid $3 million.
Brock Lesnar needs to be paid squat. I do not like the man. I do not like his attitude. I think he's a pissy piece of poop. I'm being polite. He's not.
So we know who you want to win next
I don't
Friday.
even want Shawn Michaels to win.
He's in the tag match.
Is he really?
Yeah,
Okay, I
he's
don't want none of them.
Generation X versus the brother.
They're too old. Retire already. Stay in retirement.
Well, Shawn Michaels did. Hogan kept his word, and when he retired, so to speak, Ric Flair kept his word, so to speak. They had like a few matches here and there, but it was nothing major.
Yeah, I'm quite disappointed no one's done the Ric Flair woo yet. Woo! Giannis, well done.
You looking at you like, what are you doing to me on this live podcast?
Woo!
He's honestly looking like you
She
keep
lost
embarrassed to
so
be.
much.
He's like, you keep embarrassed to be like that. You will have your toes when you wake up in the morning.
I see. So, why do you think that they've let Hogan come back out of retirement, back with the WWE, after their whole thing of pulling his name from their website, pulling him from the Hall of Fame, you know, all of that stuff? Why now?
My opinion, he should have never been kicked out of WWE in the first place.
Very true.
Because there's a lot of people that still at that job say either the same thing or worse than that.
And mind you, Hogan did it in a recorded phone call because of the fact that it was a guy that was dating Brooke, and apparently she told him that he was abusing her. So he did it via phone call. It's not like he came out on national television and said at the front of a group in a private phone conversation, and somehow it got leaked.
Well, and on top of that, if you think about it, I can speak purely as a mom. You can speak as a dad, and you can speak as a dad. Somebody messes with your kid. I can honestly say my filter goes. I have a filter. You mess with my kid and stuff, and I'm not proud of some of the stuff I've said when I've defended Robert, when somebody has messed with Robert. And you know as well as I do, when my temper blows, my temper blows. It's not a pretty sight. And I mean, I've went toe to toe with local wrestlers over Jason Masters, the little fuck, and I will still hold a grudge over that one, pouring beer over my 8-year-old's head at the time because he told everybody that Robert spat on the US flag. Robert didn't spit on the US flag. Robert refused to take a US flag from Jason Masters and someone else and said to them, I'm not taking it, my mum's British. Jason Masters shoved him. Robert spat at Jason Masters.
Oh.
So that Robert got in trouble for it because I don't approve of that. Anyway, it was about 6 months later. We were at a wrestling show and Jason Masters walks up to my 8-year-old son and pours a beer over his head. That was 10 years ago, and I will still fuck that piece of shit up if he crosses path with me. And if anybody's watching who knows Jason Masters, you can tell him that too. Things ain't forgiven. Because I would do
anyway.
No, but I could do the same to his precious little daughter. Go up to her and pour a glass of beer over her for what her father did to my kid. If you want to go tit for tat, if you can't face off next to an 8-year-old child, then that just shows that you're a pussy ass piece of shit.
Look at that, she's just smiling.
But anyhow, but my whole point is that in regards to Hogan, he had reason to believe that this person was abusing his daughter.
Yeah, that's pretty much what
Yeah.
the whole conversation
Let's
was
be
about.
honest. You are gonna come out of the side of your mouth and you are gonna name call. Would I personally use that word? No.
He did.
He did. And yes,
But yeah, like I said, it was in a private phone
Right.
conversation, not like he came out on national television and just, you know, put the guy on blast. It was in a phone conversation that somehow got leaked,
yeah, because the person recorded the conversation.
and then it
And
got
then-
out there.
Yeah, and my whole thing in regards as well to that is like, say for example, if I dropped it right now, the word that was used, I'm doing it in front of an audience.
It's the
Please
N word. It's
yeah.
the N word, people. For those of you that don't know,
If I said it right now, because we've got an audience and everything, people could attack me. That's perfectly fine for saying it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't approve of saying it under any circumstances, but if my laptop is switched off and we're not recording, and then I say it to you, say in a conversation, and Mike records it and puts it out there, I'm going to get attacked for it. But on top of that, my privacy has then been taken from me. And I think when you're making a phone call to someone, you expect that element of privacy.
Unless you informed them.
Yeah, unless you say, look, I'm recording this shit because I don't trust your
and
ass.
then I think it was also the matter of a sex tape that him and his wife did that got out.
Oh,
No,
him and
it
that-
was him and somebody else's wife that
Yeah,
got
it
out.
was
Even
him
though the
and-
guy at Hogan won that lawsuit, by the way, boy, did he not get paid.
But even still, it's like that element of privacy. If you actually know that you're making a sex tape, I'm sorry, you risk that chance of it getting out there. You really do. Because exes can be brutal. Let's be perfectly honest.
Look what happened to Paige, but she got a second chance now, didn't she?
Oh yeah.
But, you know, I'm going to put this one
She
down.
not only get a second chance, but she becomes a GM as soon as she
Right.
got backline. Yet, you know how many sex tapes are out there of her? Plenty of them.
Right, but she's never denied it. And
Yeah.
she's never, you know, she's always said, this is part of my past. This is, you know.
That wouldn't
It
part of
happened.
no past. If you were on the dang sex tape with the NXT title, that's not part of your past.
That's awesome, by the way. I'm just saying. Good on your page.
Much for those of you that have never seen it, it's pretty much her. It's pretty much a guy ejaculating, busting a nut in her face with the NXT title right on her throat, right around her neck. So pretty much the cum shot was, yeah.
Is it really?
Yes, it
I'm
is.
gonna
I
have
can
a
show you the. I can show you the video here.
What you got? I'll
It's
find
there.
it.
Well, so
I
that's-
know where it is, so I can find it a lot faster.
Like we said, it's videos of her.
Yeah.
From
I
that,
can find it real
then
quick.
her and Xavier Woods. And,
Oh yeah, I saw
Xavier
that.
Woods as well?
Yeah.
Well, hot damn.
Yeah, they made a joke about it on when it got released on SmackDown. They just looked at him, then they just changed
Okay.
it to another conversation.
Who is still wondering what happened in Milwaukee?
Oh yeah, let me tell you what happened on that segment.
Here's the one with Xavier Woods.
Oh, let me see that.
Part one was like Rusev was just talking bad about Milwaukee. Then
It's gonna take a while before it gets to that scene.
Lana came in
Right.
and was talking to him to say, I thank you for like backing up Rusev or whatnot. And of course he was shirtless. And I guess they were saying that she was like, I appreciate you, to make it seem like that.
See,
He
there's
was-
the one I'm talking about.
Made it seem like that she was in love with him. They stopped it and played part two like the following week.
After the scene. Y'all go ahead. Y'all go. You go ahead.
You
go.
carry on. You're on a roll. We're watching Paige so.
I'm just trying to show her that it's out there.
I believed you it was out there.
But
Got tight little titties.
Really? NXT title.
Oh, let me see that. Get that back in. See, this is what we're watching. Look. I'm going to lose my Facebook page for doing that.
you probably will lose your Facebook page for showing that.
You'll lose page, account, every damn thing.
I did it quickly. Open your eyes.
But anyways, he stopped it.
I'm sorry. I
he's-
thought this was a family oriented show. I didn't know.
He stopped it, and he was like, "You know what happens next?" And the thing was that Lana came out and said, "I know your password is I love Rusev." Then they replayed it, and she was just like, "I don't go with you that way," and just left and got busted. So yeah,
Oh.
nothing happened in Milwaukee. They were,
There's the verdict.
they were just there.
Okay. We know they were there. We were there too, watching them be there in Milwaukee.
If it was.
Come on.
And, and,
I thought I had a busting us so they can go to sleep. But you had a busting.
and the funny thing was is Zelo Pro Wrestling based on Chicago kind of used that theme like one night in Milwaukee for promoting their upcoming show that's going to be here January 4th at the Turner Hall
He
building.
looks bored as hell.
So
I thought I had a busting us so they
He
can go to
looks
sleep.
bored as hell.
because he's recording.
You don't look bored when. Sorry, this
He's
is-
getting his knob slobbed on. You just up there.
Oh,
Uh-oh. We apologize about that, Facebook.
it wasn't Facebook. That
I
was
mean,
YouTube.
YouTube.
Here I am with the camera getting my knob slobbed on. I was going to be. Coming up next, the conclusion.
Oh, God.
Investigation.
We're still recording. You're
I
good.
know. I'm just making sure, because you know.
Oh,
got that-
we're gonna all end up with like pictures on our faces and stuff.
That's just suppress it.
But anywho,
That's going to be funny. Yeah.
okay.
Investigation day 125.
So anyhow, moving along from that.
Okay,
So-
the footage is out there. Now she has seen it. So, okay, now we were talking about the incident in Milwaukee that never happened. Okay, so what's next? Where do we go from here?
Oh God. About to say like she probably the only one in there that done a sex tape. Everybody else got like nude and
But it's
got their
nude.
pictures taken.
Right, but do you know what?
No, I'm-
As I mentioned to you guys before, in the UK, we are seeing boobs, butts, and genitals, to be perfectly
Uh-huh.
honest. It's not done in a sexual way. They'll say, for example, you'll see a TV show that shows a couple in the bathroom. How many couples have conversations in the bathroom while one's showering and one's doing something else? That's what you
Mhm.
see. Then the person comes out the shower, is getting themselves dry. That's afraid of insulting someone. Okay, everybody who is alive is here because of the result of sex.
Mhm.
Everybody who's got children has had sex. Go to pretty much everybody in Walmart has had a dick in their hands at some point. I'm just saying.
How would you know that? What, you took a poll?
I did take a poll. So this whole like prudish attitude just gets on my nerves. And you know,
We
just
didn't
does.
sponsor this poll, by the way. We do that to the bottom. I'm pretty sure everybody knew about the poll that Medea once swung on, which was the telephone poll. But this particular poll about the whole sex thing, don't.
but it should be, you know, this whole women not being able to show their bodies and all this, like, because it may offend someone. You know,
Yeah,
it's
especially-
just
Who the heck would they offend?
Especially in Saudi Arabia.
well, in Saudi Arabia. Hold on, we got to go on the whole thing there. It's a whole different ball game because that's a whole history of keeping women covered up and everything. So I understand for them it's very bad to see a woman in very scantily clad clothing, and that's why they don't have any women's matches out there.
Well, what they did, they were in Saudi Arabia for, I guess, for like a everything, and
Right.
they had like a Divas match with Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss, but they was like all covered up,
Yeah.
just wearing some weird stuff. But yeah, that happened, and I think did they either show that on Raw or SmackDown? I think it was one or two they showed this week.
But do you also think that there's been pressure from where they're getting the money from in Saudi Arabia to bring Hogan back as we go back to the original subject that we were on before we completely got
Oh yeah,
sidetracked?
because it seems like they was interested in bringing some of the past wrestlers like back in. Like I knew that I knew Michaels was one of them, but and The Rock was another they was talking about. But I guess that dream match that they wanted with the Rock and Roman Reigns ain't gonna happen because
Obviously, yeah.
what happened.
Well,
But
never
they
say
want-
never. It
but-
might happen though.
But they do want The Rock as champion by the time they get to Saudi Arabia in April next year.
So we know what's going to come up then.
Right. If The Rock has time to do a match, which who knows with his schedule.
That's true.
That'd be a pretty dumb move to put the title back on The Rock if he's hardly ever around.
Right.
If it was like a long term thing and they knew for sure that he was gonna be there long term, okay, I could kind of understand that. I still wouldn't understand it because of The Rock has had the title so many damn times. It really don't make a difference on if you put the belt on him or not. But he's hardly ever there, so to put the title on would be pretty much meaningless. Like, okay, we're gonna put the belt on this guy, knowing that he's hardly ever around for
Like
what
Brock
reason.
Yeah. And the whole issue was with Brock Lesnar is this whole thing saying you have to defend it at least once in a 30-day period. And there was a couple of times where Brock didn't.
Yeah, he get a pass and nobody else don't.
Yeah.
And I know some people gonna say like it's special treatment and stuff. It's like you should go for like everybody, part time or not.
Yeah.
The thing is, he could show up on every Raw. You don't have to do no house shows or anything. Just show up at Raw.
Yeah.
Do an interview and then just leave and then don't wrestle the whole 3 days. To me, like I said, that's just my opinion though. It'd be kind of pointless to put the belt back on The Rock because he's had it so many times. It would not really even make a difference if he had it or not. Stop bringing some people up that ain't had the dang title yet.
I agree. And that's the thing is that, when they actually gave the title to Roman Reigns, everybody was happy that it had changed hands. But then all of a sudden it was like, why him? Why him? They should give it. And it's like some fans just really aren't happy regardless of where it goes.
Right, because they was really happy at SummerSlam that Braun Strowman was going to cash it on somebody, but it never got to that point. So I know some people was upset about that, but after everybody that didn't like Roman Reigns was happy because they get to see it on a daily basis, well, weekly basis, I should say.
So you telling me that this just came back to mind. So we talk about Crown Jewel. You telling me that whoever wins against Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman becomes champion automatic, considering the champion had to surrender the title?
Yep.
You would think they would. You think they would put some more money into building up another storyline because they know Roman Reigns gonna be gone for a while. You think they'd have like a tournament or something like they did for WrestleMania 4?
Well, they are going to have a tournament, but it's not going to be for the title.
That's what I'm saying. They did the only time they ever did a concept like that was for WrestleMania 4. And look how good that turned out.
Okay, quick question, and it's completely has nothing to do with wrestling. What is that all about?
The heck is that anyway?
It looks like a wolf, monkey, chicken, and stuff. Is that like a Chinese thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought so.
Oh yeah, I can see it now.
But yeah, the World Cup tournament, although half of people is not happy about it because it's like they were supposed to see like the best in all the world.
And yeah, it's only the WWE people. So how you gonna determine who's best in the world if it's only the company personnel in the tournament? Like, it's not like how they did with the Cruiserweight tournament or the Cruiserweight Invitational. Yeah, they have people from all over the world competing in that. But with this World Tournament Cup thing going, how can you call it a world title cup if only the personnel from WWE are competing for it? It's not around the world because it's still in the company.
And it's like they only got like most of American people. They don't got no people that from this
Europe
country,
and
Canada, or anything like that.
WWE personnel.
it's
nobody from
mainly-
around the country.
It's mainly like all people that's from America were born in America and stuff. But Rey Mysterio, I don't know what his backstory is. I know like he's currently living in San Diego, California, but I don't know if he was born in Mexico or so that I
think
don't know.
he was. I don't think He might have been though, because he had the tattooed across his stomach. I forgot what they said in that dang book of his. I read his book. I just forgot where it was. I just forgot where he was born at. I don't think it was Mexico though. I know it was somewhere in California, but I don't think it was Mexico for sure.
Okay, then probably his parents was from Mexico, so
Yeah, that also been the case. Just like Eddie Guerrero, he wasn't born in Mexico either, but he was born in Texas, even though he had a Mexican background. So.
But see, and that's the thing. That's where WWE gets away with a lot.
oh, you okay? We'll give you a minute.
We may need a moment.
And what y'all just saw, especially some of them people out there that saying she's faking her injury, that's not fake. And I know some of y'all probably just heard that.
We'll be back with this brief intermission right after this. Okay, we're back.
Oh my god. What I was saying is where WWE gets around the whole international thing is like what you were saying about Eddie Guerrero being born. Where was he born?
Texas.
But he had Mexican heritage.
Yeah.
They do that a lot with like wrestlers.
Let's just say Latino heritage. That way,
but they do that a lot with, I've noticed with wrestlers, is that they may be from this country, but perhaps like their mom and dad, or their dad was from England, or their dad was from Canada, or mom was from, you know what I mean? So they pull out the international part of it like that.
Right.
Could you pass me the silver out the fridge, please? Pass me the Coke.
It's my Coke.
You can share.
It's my Coke.
Y'all are arguing about Coke.
It's easy for you to say you got a whole soda to yourself. You be getting them off the wall flavors that nobody ain't nobody else gonna drink them but him.
Excuse me.
Well, that wasn't the plan, but
And again.
it happens.
But for those who think, yeah. That's hard as my Britney Spears. But I think
they
that's
knowing me. This sort of thing is my bag.
But that's why I think where WWE gets around a lot of it is because they're able to pull like the lineage of somebody and say, okay, they're from. But quick question: what the hell happened to Kofi Kingston's accent?
Oh,
you're gonna go that far back? Ain't nobody.
I know he ended up getting busted by Triple H on that one.
Yeah, we all remember that night.
But
he actually would have looked surprised, like, okay, first of all, you're not even from Jamaica.
Yeah. He was born in Jamaica, but he
But they moved over here.
Yeah, they moved to the Boston area.
Yeah. So I mean, technically they can say he's Jamaican, but it was like the accent.
Some people know they say they can't believe Jamaica. We have a bobsled team.
So, but going back to like that, do you think that that's how it? That was my opinion on how WWE gets around it. Do you think that's how they do, by basing off the lineage of someone?
I guess it all depends on the person. They do that too, but if it's anybody else, like just original Caucasian person, like, because some of them can be like mixed from one background to another and stuff.
Hi, Mama.
But they don't do that. They just they're just from America.
But as I said, I just can't see how they can call it an international tournament when it ain't no around the world like the
bring some, in some like English ones, the Europeans.
The cruiserweight championship, I can completely understand that. Hey, they have people from Australia, from England, from Japan, from Africa, from South America. They went all over the globe looking for people. And all of a sudden, it's like, we're gonna do a world tour championship with not one person from another country, except from people that already are under contract or close to being under contract with WWE. Then that means that's proving what? it's not a world competition because it's the people that are already there. So it's like that's kind of pointless to name it that.
Right, like they do it with, of course, with the cruiserweight, and they're also doing it right now with the Mae Young class. It's like people from, well, women from all around the world.
I haven't even watched it yet. I don't know how good it actually is. I've never watched it.
It's actually good.
There was actually some controversy, if you remember, because it never was originally called the Mae Young Classic.
Oh, you think about the Fabulous Moolah Battle
Yeah.
Royal? Yeah, that one got changed because they found out
What she was really like.
Yeah, and I think you told me some of
Okay,
that
what
too.
did that miss?
The Fabulous basically was not all that she was made out to be. She was actually involved in taking a lot of the younger female wrestlers and basically pimping them out to other male wrestlers and tell them this is how they would get their breaks if they, they did that and the other.
Gotcha.
And there was going to be a tournament that was
like
a battle royal
Yeah.
that was going to be named after her, and all of these female wrestlers who had dealt with her because of that came forward and were like, could you not? As the stories all started coming out, and even to the point where some of the male wrestlers were like, you know what, these women are telling the truth. This is, she was the go-to woman if you wanted, to find someone to sleep with when you were on the road.
Yeah, and she was taking some of their money, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was acting as an agent for them as well. And instead of taking what is considered a regular agent's
I know I'm probably
fee,
slow for asking that, but okay,
Yeah.
I got you now.
she was, instead of taking a regular agent's fee, which I think is only supposed to be like 5% or anything, she would take all of their wages and then allocate what she felt they were worth. So it wasn't even, okay, I got you this job, so you owe me 5%. It was like, okay, maybe it was a case of, okay, I got this job for you, but I don't think you wrestled very well, so you're only getting 5%. It was things like that. She was not a very
I'm just surprised
nice person.
I'm just surprised it hasn't brought up when she they returned in the 90s and stuff. So, and that, of course, everybody know about that battle royal was supposed to be this past WrestleMania, which
Yeah.
they changed it to the women's battle, and of course Naomi won it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I wonder if they're gonna finally have a name for it for next year.
Speaking of the divas, how do you think their storyline is faring up?
Some of them are pretty good,
And is it me, or are you just getting tired of seeing the same divas with the titles? Is it just me, or are you getting tired, or is it finally getting tired?
No,
of
some of them is tiresome. It's like, why does this person have the title?
like Charlotte Flair and what's the one girl's name?
Becky Lynch. Or you talk about Alexa Bliss?
Yeah,
The blonde haired one.
Them two heifers. Why are they the only ones that seem to always have the damn title? None of them seem to. When was the last time? If I say around about like the past 2 months or so that anybody else has had that title except for them two.
Well, right now Ronda is the Raw Women's Champion and Becky Lynch is the SmackDown Women's Champion. All their titles will be defended tomorrow.
But I mean, I understand though where Mike's coming from, because we did, if you remember, have that backwards and forwards, and it was like,
what they did with Charlotte and Sasha
yeah,
Banks.
because there was one point, if you remember, and it was like where they announced Charlotte as like the champion, and it was like, just for argument's sake, our 10-time women's world champion. It's like, you just changed this freaking title a year ago. How could she be the 10-time champion? And if you remember, it was like hot potato.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, but pass it on. Oh, bring it back. Oh, and this is what we spoke about last time, where the titles don't seem to really mean as much right now because they're passed around so willy-nilly. To me, the last time like the women's title actually had any true, well, twice I'll say, any true meaning was when what's her face had it for the longest run. Nikki
Oh.
Bella.
Oh yeah, when she had the Divas.
Yeah. Because she did hold it for so long, and she did have
And the
people.
other person would be
When Charlotte actually won the women's
damn that
title.
You go back farther than that. The only thing
Oh, you
that
talk
actually
about,
meant something was when Trish Stratus had it for the longest time. At least everybody and their mama had a turn to have it. Like Trish would have it, and then Ivory would have it, and then Jacqueline would have it,
Well,
and then go back to Trish. With these two titles, it's the same divas every single time. It's like, damn, y'all got up and coming divas. They can't get their spot because all y'all focusing on is like the same 2 or 3 people.
And I do kind of agree with what Ronda Rousey said when her and the Bellas went one on one.
Oh,
yeah,
that
like-
was wow.
When she said
Oh
about
my god.
when she was going on about how Nikki only got a chance from going through John Cena's bedroom door,
Oh.
and then she went, and then he kicked you out again. That was.
I
Just,
was laughing more.
I think everybody just got up out their chairs and was like, "Oh!" and walked
And the
away.
sad part is the divas, the Bellas can say a damn thing because it's all pretty much true.
And that was the whole thing. It was pretty much true, and I think everybody kind of.
I was laughing
Yeah.
when I saw that interview. Boy, I laughed my ass off.
Oh my god, we were watching it when it was said, and
'Cause like I just recently said though, it's like no other diva is getting like their chance. It's like the same 2-3 divas every single pay-per-view and every single title defense. It's the same 2 or 3 divas.
yeah.
What was the last time Amber Rose had a title shot?
Oh, you mean Ember Moon?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
last time she had a title shot?
She never had a title shot.
When was the last time Naomi had a title shot? She just won a battle royal.
Ooh, yeah, it's been a while.
Well, and the other thing is that you've got these really good females from NXT who came up,
Mm-hmm.
and my thoughts were is like Bailey would be a really good one to hold it for a long period of
Asuka.
time,
But she never did.
but she never does because I think that people think she's too well. To me, WWE acts like she's the good girl who everybody's friend and just bouncy around and wouldn't be a good person to hold it.
Osaka is a perfect example. She
Oh,
had-
Asuka, yeah.
yeah, undefeated in NXT, had the title for the longest time, surrendered it when she became on the main roster. Had she had the Divas title yet? Nope, none. She ain't got not one. What the title shot that she did get, she lost, even though she was undefeated in NXT.
And it was her first loss, too.
And it's sad because she would be a really
Earlier this
good
year.
one to hold on to that
That'd
belt.
be international status right there.
Yeah.
We have connections in Japan and in the States.
And the
at
thing
same
is
damn time.
I'm not a big fan of hers.
Oh, she is
but-
awesome. Screw that. Oh man.
Go on.
I'm not a big fan of hers,
I don't condone
But-
this.
but I can see how her holding the title would open up so many doors. But to me, it's almost as though I hate to bring it up. I brought it up last time. The whole racism part in WWE plays a part at times.
Right. And I know some people are going to say, like, they was holding it in NXT. Triple H is running NXT.
Yeah.
And Vince is doing the main roster. So, complete difference.
I think and I don't like Triple H as a wrestler, I really don't. His nose and his forehead bother me so much.
Okay, if you say so.
But I could see if he actually had chance to run the main roster for a while, that you would get those changes.
Yeah, I know there's a say so in it. And
Right, but there are times when you can see that his say-so plays a really good part, and then you could tell when somebody else has come in and pulled it out, because the whole thing with Asuka was that she was in that running and she was such a strong contender, and it would have been great, as you said, for her to hold it. But
Oh,
then
yeah.
for her to have first loss, no, make her first loss, her losing the belt.
Exactly.
Don't make it her first loss trying to get the belt.
Exactly.
Because they could have had her hold one title and what's his face? Oh my god.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah. Hold another one. And right there
He
and then,
damn sure should have had the
Yeah.
title.
and right there and then, as Mike said, you would have monopolized the international market as well. because you're gonna then get people in Japan and overseas be like, "Holy
Let's put
shit!
some
Look
money
who's
in there.
got
Chinese,
it!"
Koreans, or
Let's
whoever.
Yeah.
let's put some money down with it because they showing
Because,
out people that
yeah,
you know
and let's
they
be
showing out
honest.
people respect.
You know, everybody's going on about how WWE's going to Saudi Arabia and the Arab countries because there's money.
Japan, and you know they got
Could
some
you-
diehard fans.
I was
in
going to
Japan.
say, Japan, look at the money that you can find in China. And can you imagine the sort of press that WWE got a lot of press by going to Saudi Arabia. But can you imagine the press they would get going to a communist country and putting on a wrestling show?
In Japan, they got diehard fans.
The only thing that I think they could be worried about is the crowd reaction, because Japan not so much because it's a little bit more westernized than China is, but a lot of times when and I've watched boxing matches out of China, and when they do boxing matches out of China, the crowd doesn't cheer and scream and shout like they do over here. They sit there politely, watch it quietly,
Except for when it's wrestling now.
and then they clap afterwards and everything. And I'm wondering if, because could you imagine watching a WWE event with a quiet crowd and then just after each match?
Japan's
But-
totally different guy.
Yeah, but I was going to say,
diehard.
but they could take it to Japan and still bring in the international audience and the Asian countries to be a part of it.
NCW was smart on.
And can you imagine the response that you would then get from, let's be honest, Japanese are well known for going over the top on everything.
Yep.
Wrestling isn't any different.
Nope.
Especially because they got New Japan Pro Wrestling. And
Right.
Yep.
And you know
and
damn
everybody
well.
here, including America, loves it.
Right.
Yep.
So they could easily have had those two hold the titles, and this tour that they're doing now, you could easily name it the Rising Sun tour, because
Why are you licking my feet?
the Japanese flag is the symbol on it is considered the Rising Sun.
Oh.
Yep.
So it would be just stop with the yip, or I'm going to slap you with a baseball gun.
Oh, I can't agree with you now.
But you're yipping.
It's the same thing.
But it's one of those things where they would have that really huge audience based on those two people.
Yep.
And is there any people from Saudi Arabia in
Nope.
WWE?
Not anymore.
Who was?
Davari, and that was about it. And they had what was that one dude's name?
Look it up.
Mohammed Hassan, but he was actually from Detroit, but he had Saudi Arabia.
Background.
Yeah. Davari was the only person. He came back during the cruiserweight run.
But his brother is in 205 Live.
Okay, then I guess they do still have somebody there.
Yeah.
Competing, I don't think so.
Oh,
Was he crying?
no, the way he was looking at me.
He gave you the big sad eyes, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that you give nobody else love but AJ?
Okay,
He big go.
Sabu was originally built from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Sabu, yeah, but he's not in the company anymore.
No.
He was there when ECW was around, but that was it.
But did you know there's some wrestlers who have pulled out because of the whole thing?
Yeah, I
From the
heard
show?
about that, Yeah.
John Cena, Daniel Bryan are refusing to work it.
Shawn Michaels claimed to be the other.
Oh man, they're gonna lose a lot of money.
They're saying the event is part of 10-year partnership WWE has had with Saudi Arabian government
10 years?
accusing of killing Washington Post journalist. John Cena is refusing to participate in the WWE Crown event, according to Bleacher Report.
Man, they're about to lose a lot of money because of that.
It says the partnership was made in support of Saudi Arabia's social and economic reform plan, Vision 2030. The plan aims to promote the country's image as the heart of the Arab and Islamic worlds. More specifically, the 10-year contract is between WWE and Saudi Arabia's General Sports Authority, which is a government entity. It says our partnership with the Saudi General Sports Authority reflects a long-term commitment to present WWE's world-class entertainment on a global scale. The statement was made ahead of the greatest Royal.
Oh, the greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah. The WWE was met with criticisms after no females were allowed to participate. The controversy has increased following the October 2 killing, and crowd draw is very much in jeopardy. WWE stars that are refusing to work were told John Cena will not participate. Daniel Bryan's refusing. I'm just trying to see who else.
That's two of your main eventers gone.
Yeah. And that's a harsh one because John Cena, as much as a lot of people don't like him, really does pull international fans.
And I know Shawn Michaels was supposed to be the other.
Shawn Michaels can't be the other. He's part of the main event. If they pull that off, they might as well just cancel. If he pulls out, they might as well just cancel the whole damn show because he's part of the main event. Technically, because I guarantee you, even though Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar would be facing each other for the title, the match that everybody wants to see.
Kane was going to pull out, but he has already signed a contract to be there.
Exactly.
So he's fulfilling his obligation.
Because you know full well, even though, like I was saying, even though Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar are facing each other for the Universal title, the match that everybody wants to see is the Brothers of Destruction versus D-Generation X. If Shawn Michaels would have pulled out and King would have pulled out, you might as well not even have the show because that's your main event gone.
So I'm just trying to see.
It's just unless they're going to do the rematch of Undertaker and Triple H.
Nah, they ain't going to do that again. They couldn't carry a show again at their ages by themselves again. They couldn't do it again like how they did it the first time. Because they would have to come. They dang near killed each other in the last match they was in. They would have to come up with something brand new, and knowing that their bodies cannot endure it. The only way they could possibly pull off another. The only way they could possibly pull off another match like how they had in Australia is by doing another Hell in a Cell. And you know full well neither one of them are going to do that again. Not against each other.
So I'm just trying to see.
And as for like John Cena, like he's supposed to be part of that World Cup. So who's going to replace him?
I don't know.
Unless Vince is going to talk it over to them over the weekend and be like, you got to do this or whatever.
Well, I don't think they would ever force John Cena into doing anything because as much as I know you don't like hearing it, John Cena is Vince's golden boy. He's a moneymaker. So they could probably get around him not being there. But it's going to be tough because he is the moneymaker.
Right.
And they did it for a while when he wasn't there, so.
And the WWE Championship match is going to be in jeopardy too because Daniel Bryan.
Right. But this is the thing. They could actually.
Whole pay-per-view.
Well, they could actually make Daniel Bryan do it because if he's under contract and obligated,
With WWE, yeah.
then they can make him do it. Or they could suspend him. The only way I could think of him ever getting out of that would be there being something, his daughter getting sick. And I mean, let's be honest, you wouldn't expect anyone to go if your kid's ill or that lot. But even still, I don't know, it just, you know what I'm saying.
Right. It's just like I understand why some people want to pull out because of that incident and stuff. But like you said, they signed like a 10-year contract, which I didn't know about the contract. I know they signed obligations to go there, but I didn't know it was like 10 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're probably going to have the greatest Royal Rumble ever again in April. Then wherever they're going to have.
That's the case. They may never do Saudi Arabia again after they finish their show. If they got that much controversy, they might as well not even do anything in Saudi Arabia anymore. They might as well just breach the contract and be done with it. Because if you got two of your heavy hitters pulling out of the event because of what happened, you might as well just go ahead and breach the contract with Saudi Arabia and be like deuces.
I've just found another report that was a day ago saying Hacksaw Jim Duggan talks John Cena pulling out of the thing. So let's see what he said about it. Hacksaw Jim Duggan spoke with TMZ Sports and defended WWE's decision to keep the Crown Jewel event. I think they should stick to it. You can't control what goes on in parts of the world that they had scheduled. To a degree, I agree with that. So, let me see. That's what it's, guys. It's just basically saying that he understands why Vince McMahon's still going ahead with it because it's a huge business deal and they are under contract.
Mhm.
That's the difficult part. If they were under a 1 or 2 year contract, it's easier to get out of. But a 10-year contract,
And I think there's some people don't even realize that you know, when they do business like
Right.
that, they're probably like under contract with them. So
oh, that's another reason why Hulk Hogan was invited over there. Because of John Cena pulling out of the show.
oh,
That would make sense because then you would get a really big face going over there. You know what I mean?
right.
Hopefully, Hogan still had the same momentum he's had that
He
he had.
comes out with the little.
Well, not in the past, but you know, at least still have some of the pull.
Right. And I think he will because let's be honest, I don't care who you are. When you hear Hulk Hogan's music play, you do the pose and you start to rip your shirt off.
Mm-hmm.
Don't deny it, both of you. I've seen you do it, AJ.
Yeah, I did the pose. I admit that. And it's like a secret or anything. So that was it. So I didn't know it was their counter thing for like them not having John Cena there. So
Yeah.
Hey,
I
still
know
a smart
that.
move.
That was a smart move, and that would explain how rapid it was because it wasn't like we've heard since April with the last one. WWE are back in talks with Hulk Hogan. It's kind of been like,
well,
boom, he's there.
they did have talks with him, like taking him, putting him back in the Hall of Fame and stuff when he was at July's pay-per-view. He was there, but he wasn't like.
Did they ever
There,
take
there.
Mae Young out of the damn Hall of Fame? Nope. But they
Who?
gonna take. Did they take Mae Young out of the Hall of Fame after they found out what she did? Nope.
You mean Fabulous Moolah?
Yeah,
Fabulous
I'm
Moolah.
sorry. Did they take her out of the Hall of Fame for picking out all these female wrestlers? Nope. But they were quick to take Hogan out of the Hall of Fame because of a private phone call conversation.
And that's sadly the fact of life.
Yeah, it's just the things that.
So
they,
as long as you're a pimp or a pinterest, you cool. You still cool with the company.
It's a, well, yeah, I mean, look,
Pinterest.
it's a madam actually.
But when a white person calls somebody a nigga over the phone in a conversation that he did not know was being recorded, oh yeah, we're gonna take him out of the Hall of Fame. We can't have that, but we can have one of our female stars pimping out our divas, and then taking a percentage off the top because of it. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. What the heck is Vince thinking? I'm gonna take my highest billed 80s and 90s superstar out of the Hall of Fame because of a phone conversation, but I'm gonna keep one of the longest reigning women's champions who was pimping out my Eves, taking percentages off the top and stealing from a company in the Hall of Fame.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
from us on YouTube, we're gonna close it out there.
Okay. I'm getting close to my battery dying on my laptop too, so
Bye, people. Gone.
So goodbye from everybody on YouTube, and probably do another one. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about tomorrow's pay-per-view. So maybe do a quick video on that.
no, it's the all women's.
Evolution is tomorrow.
Ah.
So peace.
But yeah, so I mean, with everything that's